Separated by cosmic cabinets, Brandon and Logan are broadcasting Nintendo stuff live using their telepathic powers. My name is Brandon Miracle, broadcasting from the Break Room Arcade. If you look south of me in the video version on youtube.com/c/the Break Room Arcade, you'll find Logan Welliver broadcasting from the Break Room bedroom. How you doing today, Logan?
Hello, yes, it is I.
You are the Welliver.
I am the solo Welliver. There are no Wellivers other than me, so you can just stop looking. You
Okay,
don't need to
if
find,
we want to be like
there's
real
nothing.
for a second, there are a whole lot of Wellivers.
Okay, but like only in like really small pockets of the world, you know.
True.
But my nuclear family certainly. But no, they don't actually exist. I was actually birthed out of the cosmos. I'd like to pretend that I'm a god, even though I'm not all powerful. Maybe a demigod like Hercules, you know.
Okay.
So maybe one day my god parent, my literal god, who is my parent, will come down and just like, hey, we need to like figure this thing out, okay? Because you're not totally human.
We've
I'd
been
be
friends
like, thanks,
for
I knew that.
We've been friends for all these years, and you're just now telling me that you're a cosmic being.
You know, it's a really sensitive subject for me. Okay, I'd rather just not talk about it.
Yet you're willing to talk about it openly on the podcast.
It just came out, man. You know, some things just need to be expressed. You know, it's called therapy. That's what it's called.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cosmic therapy.
Cosmic therapy, because regular therapy doesn't work on me because I'm a god.
So this is the 41st episode of Nintendo Stuff broadcast live on, what is today, May 18th? Would you believe we've been doing this for like a year and 3 months?
Yeah, it's pretty intense. Like, considering all the stuff, like we keep doing it, right? Because we're not doing it for any other reason than like we love talking about this stuff, and we want to continually do this. So the more we do it, the better we get at it, the more opportunities we have to create other pieces of media, which are pretty cool and get us 100,000 views here and there. So, you know, hopefully if we just keep doing this, more of that will happen, and we'll just be better at doing more of it as well.
That's always the hope. I guess a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. Logan, you and I were discussing some changes we wanted to make to how we distribute the podcast to the audience. So that means a couple things for you guys. I guess I'll plug this quickly. We did a Nintendo Stuff Extra discussion earlier this week talking about Super Mario Maker 2. Spoiler alert, that's also today's main topic. But the reason I bring that up is because we were basically going over the analytics for that, and we've come to the conclusion that it might be best for us to start uploading this show as a pre-recorded show directly to YouTube every week. And that does not mean we're going to stop live streaming it first. I want to make that clear. We've talked about it for a little bit, and we're thinking about making the live stream just an exclusive additional thing for $1 patrons and up to get, as well as members of the channel. So despite that, the podcast will still be uploaded after the fact for everybody else to listen to for free as usual, as well as to podcast sources. We just wanted to bring that up because we know it's kind of a big change for us. We've been live streaming the show ever since we started it from the very beginning. So I know this might come as a surprise, and we hope that you'll stick with us as we go through some changes here. But also leave some feedback. We want to hear from you guys as well, and let us know what you think about all of this as we move forward. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. Yeah, and we'll also tie that into the changes we've been wanting to make to the Patreon, as well as launching memberships channel-wide, just outside of YouTube Gaming. That will be taking place over this next week so that we can get that all set up for you guys. I'll tell you more about that probably through community posts and on Twitter to let you know all the things that you'll have available to you for that. Talk about it in Discord as well. And links to all of those things can be found in the description of the YouTube video. Hello, Santi. I hope you heard the long spiel I just did, because it's pretty important. But I'll let you go back and listen to that here later on. But yeah, once again, these live streams will become exclusive to channel members and patrons. with full produced, pre-recorded versions of the podcast going up at a later date for everybody else. It'll still be free for everyone. All right, now that that's out of the way, Logan, there is some Super Mario Maker 2 to be talking about.
Yeah, I mean, now that we've had a few days to kind of just like let it sink in, like what's happening, I've had a chance to talk to a few other friends, and my roommate brought it up, a coworker brought it up, and they're like, "Hey, how about this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm like totally into it." And obviously, there's been some questions we've been having, like poorly worded statements that don't like explicitly define or rule out or include certain like features in the game that we're kind of like, wait, is this here or not? Could it be here? So now that we've had a day, like, oh, this is great. Okay, now we have all our doubts and our questions, even though like I'm still at a point where I'm like, I'm very much picking this game up. Hopefully on day one, because I really see myself actually sitting there with my Switch, and actually like, building out things. And I'm really excited. I'm very, very excited to design some Mario levels.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that you mentioned you talked about this with a few other people, because I received a message from my cousin just out of nowhere that just said Super Mario Maker 2, and then a follow-up statement that said, I'm excited. Yeah, so this is reaching a relatively wide audience, despite being like a single game focused direct, because those usually don't do as well as the bigger ones.
Yeah,
but yeah, I'm also pretty excited about it.
How many views has it gotten to this point?
I haven't checked, but I think the YouTube live stream was around 30 or 40,000 live viewers during the actual direct.
Yeah,
but I watched it on Twitch. Stuff.
Okay, so on YouTube it got 1.4 million views in 2 days. So
1.4 million views?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, maybe it actually outdid other directs. I'll have to go back and look more specifically, but that's pretty good for a direct.
Especially for a singular game, right? Because I mean, even the Mario Maker 2 announcement on YouTube has 3.6 million, just like the solo announcement. So
just the video upload of that. Okay,
yeah.
Well, clearly it's reached a wide audience.
This is a high profile game. Like this game is like bigger than I think some people are like even hyping it up to be, I think with how the relative success of Super Mario Maker on the Wii U, like it makes sense that like, okay, now we're putting everything on the Switch. All these games are selling better than, their counterparts on other consoles.
I guess with that, let's pose a question. Will this surpass Super Mario Odyssey?
That's a good question. Because I mean, there are games that already have Super Mario Odyssey, right?
Right, but as an additional Mario game.
Yeah, traditional 2D with 3D. And I'm not sure. I think it has the potential to outsell it. Just based on the fact that like, do we remember New Super Mario Bros. On the DS? Do we remember and obviously it doesn't have the same oomph, right? Because it's not like 2D Mario is returning. But in this form factor of like, okay, we're going to include a lot more bang for your buck. We're going to give you like an actual like story for one. So it's a 2D Mario game. This isn't just a builder. It's a 2D Mario game in and of itself. And then with an immense amount of control over what that should look like. And I could only see like, if this is if they've been doing to a degree with this game what they've been doing all these other games, we will get more content for this game for free, coming out. And I wouldn't be surprised if we got DLC down the line as well. And already the value proposition of what's in the game at the base is amazing. I didn't expect to be this excited for Super Mario Maker 2, but I am.
It basically makes the first game look I don't want to say bad, but it kind of does. It makes the first game look like a bad game in comparison.
Well, it makes it look like a skeleton. It's
Yeah,
like, oh wow, everything's like is here for like a good game, and then they just like they stopped at a certain point. They're like, wait, no, 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 guys, this isn't finished. But it still was enough to be like, oh my gosh, like we didn't have this before, so it was novel. And you know that seems to happen with a lot of like firsts, right? There's a lot of things they do well. Like I wonder how much we will look back on Breath of the Wild and think a little bit of the same. I don't think to the same degree because it's fundamentally different.
right.
Um, but you know, in like essence of you know, wow, they had like a skeleton of what this formula really could be like. And kind of also ironing out the edges. Like there was certain omissions in the first game, like features that you're like, wait, why isn't this in here? And now it is, plus more, and some like really off the wall, like the angry sun. Like it's not like I was anticipating that one thing from that one level. You know, it's like, oh, dude, if you want it to be in every level, you go for it.
That's so funny. Like a one singular thing from maybe two levels in one game in the whole series is in here.
Yeah, and then they just paste another art style on it. It's great. It's great. Like this is, we don't really know what this is setting up for. Like we don't know how this is going to be utilized, how it could grow, what it'll inspire Nintendo to do with 2D Mario in the future. I mean, this is also giving them like a playground to experiment themselves, because they don't have to worry. They just have to, okay, let's just keep adding stuff. Okay, and we'll see if we can find a way to use it. But they can. It's an excuse to just throw more things in there, little by little over time. Um, and just see what happens. I mean, even the fact that we have this 3D world style gameplay in there that is like it's completely separate, right? It's like there are fundamentally different things about this style and about how the visuals work. And it's like just a new separate style of 2D Mario that we've never had. Like this is two Mario games in one in a lot of
It's
senses,
like
you
Super
know?
Mario Maker exists inside of a bottle, and all of the things that make up Super Mario World, Super Mario Brothers, Mario 3, they're all in that bottle together, and Nintendo's just shaking the bottle up. But then they took the cap off the bottle and added 3D World, but they left the cap off for more stuff
Mhm.
that doesn't need to necessarily mesh with everything else. At this point, Nintendo's looking at Super Mario Maker as this thing that they can just kind of do whatever they feel like with.
Yeah, it's I think in a lot of ways this is what I've been talking about, is just building some of these things as platforms as opposed to just like singular titles. And obviously Nintendo does an iterative thing where they will have sequels, you know, such as this. But this is exactly what they're doing. Like what happens once the next console comes out and there's Mario Maker 3, and it includes like literally everything from Mario Maker 2, and then another game style, and then you know maybe they expand the story, and then in addition to that they're maybe they've figured out a good way to realistically throw together you know 3D stages, maybe in the form of 3D world, and then maybe in the form of you know something a little more you know Super Mario 64 esque, you know. But I obviously like speculating here, but like that's how I feel this will evolve. Like over time, they'll just figure it out. They're like, okay, this is accessible, it's fun, and people are going to want to do this and spend time building these creations. I mean, you look at the explosive popularity of something like Minecraft, like maybe this might be one of the best selling Mario games to date, just given the fact that it's on the Switch, and the potential for just everybody to invest in this and just have a really really good time. Um, I don't know if it'll have the accessibility of something like Minecraft, but I could definitely see it, especially if like you're just buying it to play more Mario stages. You know, I think some people will probably buy Mario Maker just to play some of those new stages, and then you know plink around and then maybe play other people's stages. Right? There's probably going to be a large amount of people who just don't build a lot. And that's also an exciting prospect because you just outsourced everything. So again, it's just building. It's building. It's building on top of itself. It's the essence of the game itself. This is what's happening, and I think this game's going to be really successful. I don't see a universe in which it couldn't be successful.
Yeah, I agree. I think in addition just to like all the extra parts and stuff that we're going to be getting, the addition of multiplayer and a story mode feels like the missing components from the first game that would have made it a complete package. Now Mario Maker feels like a complete package versus just this something that you can play around with and really express. But now Nintendo's
Yeah.
adding in these other things that allow you to expand on that and also give you a structured experience, which I think a lot of people missed from the first game.
Yeah. I mean, man, Nintendo with the Switch, like they've had like a few minor missteps, but like mostly it's just hits. They're just like, hey, we should like take this and just do more. Just do more with it. Like it's amazing how much more like care goes into these things, and how that translates into how it's perceived and the way people talk about it and get excited about it and how accessible it is, and whatever it is drawing people to that. But like, we're just constantly raving like there's something else coming out. The Switch very much feels alive, and it feels like its potential has been tapped to a certain degree, but there's still so much more that's latent within its future library, and really having all these different types of experiences. So it's exciting to see that Super Mario Maker is here very, very soon, and then we're going to get to experience this.
It's so
uh,
weird to have like a game with Game of the Year potential from Nintendo specifically coming out in the summer of all times of the year. Like their big hit games usually come out in November, but here we have Mario Maker coming out at the end of June with the rest of 2019 basically a blank or unfinished slate that we will learn about during E3. That's wild to me.
mhm.
Like as it is right now, I foresee Super Mario Maker 2 being my game of the year. And just the prospect of there being something even better than that coming out later is it blows my mind.
Yeah, because like there's still so much we already know that's coming at the sooner or later. We're getting a game that like was worked on for a certain amount of time and then just like entirely scrapped and restarted. We are getting a game, a month later, that it seems to be the most ambitious in the series yet. There's just all of these different things that Nintendo's like, let's just, okay, all of this success we're having, let's just put it back, in like that's really what it's about, and just giving people like a really fantastic value proposition. Because at this point, like if you can't justify spending 300 on a Switch, you just I don't know where your head's at. I'll say that.
And we still have that possibility of that cheaper Switch coming too at some point in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, the prospect for the rest of this year is fantastic. We'll be talking more about E3, next week. Again, not a solid date, but we're working it out with Roger, and that seems to be the time it'll work for all of us. So plan on that. One of the things that Game Explain brought up over the last week in regards to Super Mario Maker 2, I don't know if you saw this video, but they think they found proof that there is couch co-op in the game on one system, which is something that was pretty much left unanswered in the Direct.
Yeah, I'd be really surprised if it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, me too. It's just when you looked at the multiplayer that they showed us, not everybody was tied to that one screen. They had full freedom of movement, which is something we've never had in a Super Mario Brothers game outside of like single modes in Super Mario Brothers Deluxe and New Super Mario Brothers on DS. There was a versus mode in that as well.
Yeah.
So like that left the question in my mind and was like, are they gonna keep couch co-op in this game? Because I could see there being some stages that wouldn't work if you were all tied together on one screen, and just how do you get around that?
Well,
Uh,
maybe that's the difference between like cooperative and competitive. You know,
True.
maybe they throw that limitation in there. Just okay, here's couch co-op, cooperative, and then you could still do competitive in that situation. If you were just doing couch co-op, you could limit that, just for that mode.
Right. But the things they brought up is that on the eShop page, it lists number of players as 1 to 4, number of players local wireless 1 to 4, and then number of players online 1 to 4. That's pretty clear cut, if you ask me.
Yes. Yeah.
In addition to that, they've also pointed out a singular scene in the Nintendo Direct that showed Mario and Luigi going through a clear pipe together. And the camera was not focused on either one of them. It was moving between both of them. And it seems to me and to them that would signify that was being played on a singular Switch with 2 players.
Mm-hmm.
And that's great because, that was a staple feature of New Super Mario Bros. Wii. And in my mind, that's the reason that game sold so well, was 4 players on a single screen playing Mario all at the same time.
Right.
So that's going to play well into this game. There's still one question that's kind of been left unanswered that still has me a little worried, and that's whether or not you'll be able to play with your friends online. I still would be flabbergasted if you couldn't, but they also haven't said that we can yet.
Yeah, I mean, I might imagine it like some arena type system where you just jump in a lobby and decide on what stages you're going to play or compete in, and then just go from there. Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't be able to play with your friends. I mean, how much did they actually go into those menus?
On the menu, we saw network play, and we didn't see if it... I can't remember if we saw if that directly jumped to the screen they showed us afterwards, which was global play co-op, global play multiplayer versus. And there was other options on the right side that I can't quite remember, but it said global play specifically, and that's kind of why I'm not sure if you can play with friends. Unless there's another screen we have yet to see.
I mean, for all we know, they could be hiding any number of things at this point.
And they've also suggested that in their PR press release that they said to every, like all the publishers or journalists that there is, in fact, more, and they might even be hiding playable characters and some other things as well. So we don't know the whole story. And I don't think we're going to know
sounds
much.
like a deal to me if that's the case. And that seems like it'd be in line with what Nintendo's really been doing this whole time. Like, I don't see why it'd be anything different to say that, here's a game and it's going to just get extra modes and content and fixes. And like, we're going to listen real closely and then weigh those decisions. And then a lot of the times, we'll give. And that's a good thing.
Yeah, and that's the hope. So we'll see more about that. I do think the next time we hear about Mario Maker will be the Invitational. They kind of placed that date in front of us at the Direct, and that just says to me that that's the next time we'll get something new, if there's anything new left to talk about outside of what they hide in the launch version.
Right.
So moving forward, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate has outsold Splatoon 2 at retail in Japan. Splatoon 2, this is kind of important because Splatoon 2 is crazy popular in Japan. A great family game. It's a competitive game over there, but Super Smash Bros. Has outsold it. I don't know if we have the full data here.
It's saying that Smash Bros. Is at 3,066,000. And then the difference between that and Splatoon 2 is about 8,000. Yeah,
so
that.
It just eclipsed it, and that makes sense because Smash still has lots of content yet unrevealed and released, and Splatoon 2 is winding down to its last 2 months of Splat, and it's done with content as far as we know, unless they decide to tell us something at the Splatoon 2 World Championship. You never know.
Yeah, it's fun to see these numbers, especially just how like, of these top 10 spots, like 9 of these are Switch games. And a lot of them are first party. So they're kind of just dominating the market right now. Just
Yeah, they're doing a
like
great
it's
job.
kind of incredible. Oof.
It's a little funny for me to see Days Gone at the top there when
Yeah.
very little
Or like
people
the
seem to
fact
care about that game.
and this is, this is just retail, we're
Yeah,
considering. I don't know what the percentages are for digital and stuff like that. But like even at retail, Minecraft for Switch 768,000 just in Japan. In Japan.
it's funny too because I've purchased Minecraft twice now, and I almost bit the bullet on it again for Switch like 3 days ago.
Yeah, it's a really big draw. Like, can I play Minecraft on the go on a decent handheld? Like, yeah. So,
With crossplay with the other versions of the game.
yep, yep.
I mean, it was on sale for like $10 or something like that, I think.
Yeah. No, it's like Minecraft is a platform. Like,
Yeah.
there's not going to be a Minecraft 2. They're just going to keep building on Minecraft, keep selling more copies. I think the numbers worldwide were like 176 million confirmed this week.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's how big this game is. Still, it just keeps selling.
So in the spirit of sales numbers, we have another pretty big statistic here. Sales or lifetime sales for Nintendo Switch in Japan have surpassed the PlayStation 4. And to put that in perspective, the Switch has been on sale in Japan for 114 weeks. The PlayStation 4 has been on sale in Japan for 274 weeks. So Nintendo Switch has surpassed its lifetime sales in Japan in less than half the time.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
It does, but wow, that's pretty incredible. Remember the gloom and doom days of the Wii U? Look at this. Look at this stuff.
Yeah.
The PlayStation
yeah.
4 came out like what, right after the Wii U did? Or was it before? I can't remember.
It was right after. No, wait. I don't know.
It was super close. I can't remember.
I think it was like 2012 for the
Wii U?
PS4.
Oh.
I used to know this like the back of my hand because I used to look up like stats like all the time, like always on VG charts, even though that stuff isn't entirely reliable. Just numbers, man, numbers.
PS4 came out in November 2013.
Oh, November 2013, and
The
then
Wii U came out a year beforehand.
Okay. Yeah, because they were trying to beat them to the punch.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so, I mean, at least that's how it seemed. So, yeah, what a weird console.
It's so weird how that all went down. But Switch is in good graces right now, and it's just I'm happy to see that. So talking about some third party, what's going on?
I'm just laughing at like all of this, like just the Wii U is I remember it fondly because I do remember the days of playing Nintendo Land, and that's an experience you can't get on the Switch right now, and I don't anticipate you will at any time in the future.
No.
But like there was still a lot of worth in that asymmetrical gameplay, If they could bring it back, I'm down.
It's perfectly possible on Switch too. You just need additional switches, which I imagine is why they don't hone in on it so much. But I wish they would a little bit. We do have Pac-Man Versus available on Switch, and that's an asymmetrical experience, and it's still fun.
I think they should just release Nintendo Land again as a free title.
I'd buy it if they wanted to charge me. I would buy it because I think Nintendo Land is highly underrated as a system launch title. Because we used to have so much fun. We played it on a big projector. We'd have like groups of like 15 to 20 people all playing together. It was a great time.
It was always a good time.
So in some strange news, Team Sonic Racing, 6 of the characters have been recast. their voice actors have been recast. Those include Blaze and Omichow, Knuckles being the big one here, Silver, Zavik, and Omega. Knuckles the Echidna got recast. I don't know if this is like a permanent thing or if this was just a case of the video game. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I was really surprised to see this. I've heard some of the voice work for Knuckles in Team Sonic Racing, and it's definitely going to take some getting used to because the delivery is very different than what I'm used to. But yeah, Blaze and Omichow are voiced by Erica Lindbeck. Knuckles is now voiced by Dave Mitchell. Silver's voiced by Bryce Papenbrook. Zavik is voiced by Patrick Seitz, and Omega is voiced by Aaron LaPlante. And Santi's saying, bring back Travis Willingham Knuckles. We're just going to have to get used to it, assuming this is permanent. I remember having a struggle getting used to Sonic when he got recast, all those years ago. But now I consider his current voice actor to be the best person to ever have the role. He's by far my favorite person to voice Sonic. The Sonic Boom cartoon probably has a lot to do with that because he's very funny in that show. But yeah, it's just I was not expecting this, as I imagine most people weren't. You get attached to these voices and you identify with them as the character, and that can be hard for people to let go of.
Yeah, I mean, even thinking about some really classic characters who have been voiced by the same people for so long, and they're still voiced by them, but like for how much longer, and what is it going to be like if, we ever have kids and they're listening to like a completely different version of the voice than we grew up with. That'll be strange. It'll be strange when not like he was the first voice, but like Jim Cummings, who voiced Winnie the Pooh, or even Charles Martinet with Mario. Maybe they just have a back catalog of lines from Martinet, and then they just develop some technology to recreate his voice. But like, maybe that's the reality we're living in. But also, what if there's a different voice for Mario down the line,
I was talking about this in our Discord server a few days ago, specifically with Santi. And I was talking about Pikachu and how Pikachu's been voiced by Ikue Otani since the beginning of the franchise. And, Pikachu only speaks in such a limited fashion, only saying his name. They probably have enough of a back catalog of Pikachu voice lines to keep Ikue voicing Pikachu long after she's passed away.
Yeah, indefinitely.
Yeah.
Like, why would you ever need to change it, Unless they like added to the catalog, maybe not if her Pikachu sounds the same. So they add another, maybe that's the road they go down in the future. But like, they'll always have that. Like, if they want to make Pikachu sound like Pikachu, like, it's not like they have to try that hard.
Yeah, because, I mean, what else is Pikachu going to say other than Pikachu? Mario, on the other hand, is like
100 times in different ways, and then you're good. Like, that's it. That's all we need. You don't have to come back.
Mario, on the other hand, is a different story. There is a lot of wahoo with Mario, but there's also some speaking roles where he says full sentences, such as the possibility for him to do that in the upcoming animated feature. Assuming they actually have Charles voice Mario and Luigi.
Yeah, I mean, that's also a good question. Maybe they use some of his wahoos and stuff like that, but then have somebody else voice the rest.
And I don't know if I could deal with that. Like, Mario's has been Charles Martinet since the very beginning. I grew up on that voice. I was 2 years old, I think, when 64 came out.
It's exciting to think about, though, the fact that if he is, imagine that performance. Imagine being able to hear Mario speak that much,
we did get that once in the past. There was there was like that Mario, that Mario Sports Mix video they did where Mario did like a public sports interview and he was speaking in full sentences for the entire thing.
Right.
So it's not like he hasn't done it before.
Right, but like in this context, like
for like an hour and a half.
Like, Yeah.
Yeah,
It's really exciting to think about.
I just want to hear that also with him speaking as Luigi as well. I think Luigi might even be the more exciting prospect, because we've heard Luigi speak in full sentences even less than we've heard Mario do it.
Yeah, this is very true. This is very true.
And hearing him talk, against himself in scenes is kind of exciting to see, like Sean does in Dragon Ball Z with Goku and King Kai.
Right, right.
And in that case, you would never know that he was both characters.
I can't believe that's all the way off in 2022.
The Super Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah.
It feels so far away.
It's so far away. Like, it'll come up on us and we'll be wildly successful on this channel and do a review for it. And we'll talk about, like, remember when we were waiting? We were waiting and we were waiting.
Wasn't
and
this
then we're
movie
here
announced like 2 years ago?
Like, oh, dude, that wasn't long at all. But, oh my God.
This movie was announced before the Switch came out, I'm fairly sure.
Yeah, at least like the first like rumors of it. You know, they're like, this is something that's in the works. And then they like confirmed it and we're like, okay. They're like, it's 2022. And we're like, ah, crud.
And I was under the impression that they would try and time the release of the movie alongside the opening of Super Nintendo World, since it's so Mario centric. But no, still waiting. Ubisoft has 3 unannounced games that are releasing before April 2020. The assumption is that we will see these at E3. Probably all of them. I wouldn't be surprised if all 3 of them were announced at E3, because that's a fairly short window of announce to launch.
Are we getting another Nintendo collaboration?
I hope that's one of them.
They just keep going with it. They're like, this whole like Battle for Atlas thing worked out pretty well. Do you think you could prototype a Star Fox game?
I mean, they're still doing content for Starlink Battle for Atlas. Specifically like Nintendo exclusive Star Fox content. Right.
Yeah, just like, okay, this is where we're making our money from this game. It's like, this is very like, oh, we put Star Fox in it and it's essentially become a Star Fox game in a lot of ways.
If they make a sequel to it, it would be a Star Fox game.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if like Nintendo is like, actually, let's take some of the stuff you're doing here, and just make a really, really stellar Star Fox game. Let's shake it up. It's time. The Switch is a new era. Give and take, experiment with there's on-rail sections, but like maybe not always, and then maybe there's some on-foot sections, and who knows what they could do with it. There's like a million things. Like, they haven't innovated with that series in like years,
Yeah.
I feel like they haven't done anything since like Assault, really.
Outside of Star Fox 0, no. And the only like real innovation in Star Fox 0 was the control input. Everything else about that game was just Star Fox 64.
That's very
again.
vanilla.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we had like Star Fox Adventures, but also that wasn't a very traditional Star Fox game.
And it precedes Star Fox Assault.
Huh?
And it preceded Star Fox Assault.
Right. So like maybe lean more into that as like an aspect of the gameplay. Think about all the space games. Like, you could do a lot. You don't have to do everything, but you could certainly do a lot, tell a really compelling story, really work on the voice acting, and just, make something for the modern era. Like, give Star Fox the treatment that it deserves, really. Like, don't just keep giving us, oh, I guess Star Fox fans want more Star Fox 64, like, any person who likes Star Fox and is like, man, where is this? We're just waiting for it. Like, and it just keeps, nope.
I remember when Star Fox was a saga, and, starting with Star Fox 64, every game that came afterwards was the next chapter in the saga of Star Fox. Like, after Star Fox 64, Falco leaves the team, and, Fox, Peppy, and Slippy are running out of jobs to pay to keep the Great Fox up. So they end up taking that job on the dinosaur planet in Star Fox Adventures. Eventually, Falco comes back during that game, and Crystal joins the team, and that brings us to Star Fox Assault. I miss
Right.
that kind of story progression that made each game feel like an event rather than just, a game.
Does Star Fox Command fit in anywhere?
Star Fox Command is considered a non-canon game because it has 14 different endings.
Oh, okay.
But the game is a sequel to Star Fox Assault. It takes place after that.
Okay.
That's really the last game in the series that actually took the series timeline into consideration, and that's more what I want. In addition to riveting gameplay, those are the two things I need together. Because that's what made it fun for me as a kid. I remember when I got Star Fox Assault, and I was like, "Oh wow, it's a sequel."
Yeah. So I mean, outside of that, going back to just talking about what Ubisoft could be talking about outside of like a Nintendo specific announcement. I mean,
Assassin's
are there
Creed.
games? Are we getting Assassin's Creed for the Switch? Are we getting some sort of Assassin's Creed for the Switch? Are we getting maybe the Ezio collection? Are we, is it going to be, hey, here's actually the new game and it's just really scaled back and we did the work to make it work?
I mean, we did get Assassin's Creed 3, the remaster.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had forgotten about that.
I guess we did. It just kind of came and went. I think partially because
it was a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, also it didn't look great.
No, it did not.
It really Yeah.
As far as Nintendo's concerned, I could see maybe an Assassin's Creed coming to Switch. But there's one guarantee that we're overlooking, and that's Just Dance.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they have it. How does that even work anymore? Do they still sell yearly iterative upgrades, or
Yep.
they just have...
I mean, there's still the Just Dance Unlimited service that I think has all the tracks from all the games in it, but I think you still have to buy the new version every time. I could be wrong about that. Yeah, so those are the only Nintendo-related things I would imagine are going to be present at the Ubisoft conference.
Mm-hmm.
They could surprise us and give us something completely new that we haven't seen before. And if we're just talking strictly Ubisoft games, there are two other ones that I could anticipate seeing, and that's Watch Dogs 3. Because the second one was fairly successful, if I recall, at least in terms of from critical success. And this one isn't unannounced, but I think we'll see Beyond Good and Evil 2. Because we're just kind of getting a yearly update at E3 every year about that game at this point. This will be the third E3 for Beyond Good and Evil 2, I think.
Yeah, not like consecutively, right? It kind of just comes and it goes.
Yeah, I think so.
Because like the very first one was like years ago, and then it like popped back up like a decade later.
Well, I'm talking strictly from its resurgence.
Okay. Then maybe. I'm not sure. I can't remember. I haven't been like... That game is so like far off for me. Yeah. It'll get here when it gets here, and well, hopefully. It was officially announced at Ubisoft's E3 2017. So yeah, this is the third E3 that it's been through. A screenshot from a 2008 teaser trailer. Yeah. It's like almost a decade in between those. Wow. Guess they still believed in it.
In other news, Blizzard is pretty happy with how Diablo 3 performed on Switch. They are also saying Nintendo's been a great partner to work with. This comes from VentureBeat. So I think this means that we're just going to get more releases from Blizzard on Switch, whether that be something like an Overwatch or maybe even like Heroes of the Storm, or maybe even some kind of version of World of Warcraft could end up on Switch. They did just release the World of Warcraft Classic server, or Classic release.
I take it. I've never had that experience before, so maybe I just played the classic version of the game on Switch.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, I think this is the start of a great partnership. Maybe we could see some Blizzard content bleed into Super Smash Brothers. You never know. But just it's good that this is happening. And then another little tidbit that we had learned about recently was that Nintendo has some kind of boost mode inside the Switch. Or, I shouldn't say that. There is a CPU boost mode in the Switch that they utilized in the recent updates of Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, they are overclocking the CPU during loading screens specifically to keep the loading faster and not to overwork the CPU too much.
Yeah, so this is interesting because I watched the whole video that Digital Foundry did, and they talked about how like the actual like GPU, like the same product in like a different device, like it's capable of more. So I mean, but they obviously have to consider like battery life and other things when you're developing for like a different device. So if it gets too hot, then it's not good. But again, it's capable of
Oh.
more. And to think that they would be continually kind of like lifting that as they like feel like, oh yeah, this makes sense, to use it in this way. It's cool to know that these games just got better and better, and we just kind of didn't know, because also we played some of these games like when they launched. So
Yeah. I think this is unraveling the mystery of the upcoming Switch revision rumor a little bit. Because if battery life and overheating are some of the concerns with overclocking the CPU and GPU in the Switch, maybe this redesign of the form factor that we're hearing about in the Pro version, maybe that's why people have been hearing that it's more powerful. Because we also heard that it's not more powerful. So what that tells me is that there's a possibility it's the same hardware with a design that better suits overclocking the CPU and GPU more consistently.
Yeah. Or even just an even more iterative. So like, upgrading things minimally.
Yeah.
To take care of bottlenecks, but then also being able to be like, okay, yeah, we can just push more out of it because the design allows it to breathe a little bit more and lift some of those restrictions that we had to just have a good, long-lasting, functional device.
Yeah, I think this really puts things in perspective as far as potential Switch revisions. And I could see this even flooding into the forthcoming Switch cheaper edition, mini, or whatever you want to call it, that we've been hearing about. Yeah, so I'd like to see how this kind of all pans out. According to all those rumors, the Switch mini revision could come out as soon as the summertime. So really, we could hear about it at any point here in the next couple months.
Yeah.
Don't expect anything at E3 because Nintendo has already said there will be no hardware announcements. Also, you don't announce a Switch revision at E3.
It doesn't. The time's not here, right? They're not releasing anything in the future that's like necessarily really intensive or really needs it. Like everything that they're releasing runs on the current hardware as is, and that's fine.
They're going to show us Animal Crossing and Pokemon, and then wait a little bit and then tell us about that cheaper Switch so that parents can buy them for their kids this Christmas.
Right. Yeah, just get all the enthusiasts out of the way and then push it after the fact.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty confident that's how things are going to go down.
It sounds like it's a good idea to me.
And that pretty much brings us to the end of the news for this week. Obviously, we did that other discussion about Super Mario Maker 2. If you want to hear us go really in-depth about all the things that were announced in that Nintendo Direct, make sure to go to our channel. It's the most recent video before this live stream, so you can go and find that. And if you're listening to this live on YouTube, this will be available as a separate upload here later today, as well as be available on podcast sources such as iTunes or Google Play. You'll find it pretty much anywhere you'd like to listen to a podcast. We're on Spotify now. Did you know that?
Yeah. And we'll trying to get better about uploading those podcasts. So I think this will be the one that we start uploading again.
Yeah.
And then hopefully we're gonna keep making that happen. So
Hey guys, don't be afraid to slap our wrists. We got things we have to work on, and we need to be a little better about it. So yeah, I think that's gonna wrap it up. Anything else you want to bring up, Logan, before we close out the show?
I don't think so. I'm just it's a good day. It's day 1 of my 3-day weekend. Yeah, it just feels good to sit down and talk about all this stuff again and again and again. And I look forward to doing it for a long time coming as well.
Me too. Make sure to check us out next week for our planned E3 predictions discussion with Rogers Base. Love that guy. Can't wait to talk to him. We were going to do it this weekend, but he's currently at Anime Central. So if you're at Anime Central and you like Rogers Base, you might see him there. Also, our friend Conman RDW's at ASEN as well, so make sure to say hi to him and go to subscribe to his channel as well. Yeah, and with all of that, guys, I think we'll leave you until next week, so don't break your backs, break in the games, but for now, break time is over.